Welcome to this informative episode of Neurocognitive Memory and Learning Goodness. Neuro means neurons or the hardware of our brains, and cognitive means thinking or the software of our brains. That is the software that our brains run on. So luckily, they're both programmable through simple strategies based on cognitive neuroscience and other research. And that's what this episode and all my episodes, this show is really about. So today's episode is a summary of the learning brain combined with some of my own experience, learning, and teaching. So stay tuned to the end where you'll get bonus points that sort of puts all these ideas together, because there's quite a few that we're going to cover. And then I'll give you a way to help you remember it at least a little better. And a recommended episode, Learning Deeply, that will enrich your learning even further. So I'm coming to you from my bedroom, which is why I'm wearing my nice comfy house coat here. And the reason I'm doing this and the reason I do it, period, is because your brain and mine learn better when they're feeling comfortable and safe to strive, stretch, and make mistakes. As we delve deeper into the topic of memory and learning, it's important to note there are various strategies and techniques that help us learn smarter and retain information more effectively. Let's take a closer look at some of the most effective methods for improving memory and learning. And these go hand in hand. You can't learn without memory, but memory is far from all that is involved in learning. Firstly, it's essential to prioritize restful sleep as it plays a vital role in memory consolidation and learning. In fact, so much so that what you learn just before you go to bed will, by the time you wake up, you will be better at what you learned and it will be improved. So the best time actually to learn is right before you go to sleep, if you can do that. So when we sleep, our brain essentially processes, strengthens, and generalizes what we learn during the day. That means just before going to bed, after learning something, or just before sleeping and after we've learned something, we can't generalize that knowledge to as many subjects as we can after we've slept on that knowledge. Our brain encodes in such a way that it actually allows us to generalize or broaden the application of the learning we've just done, but only after and because of the processes that are going on in your brain while you sleep. So engaging in mental activities at the top edge of your Goldilocks zone, that is not too hard, not too easy, but just right, but towards the top edge, will stimulate your brain and promote something called neuroplasticity, and that's the rewiring of your brain. It's its ability to reorganize and form new neural connections. But it's more than that, because it's also something called myelination, which is the insulation which runs along the axons. And these things, there's no good pictures here. The axon is the long part of the neuron which talks to other neurons. It's the internet cable, and you can go from dial-up slow speed to light optical fiber types of speed, an increase of up to 300 times, simply by myelination, which is caused by effortful learning and practice. So another thing, this may surprise you, but this is a critical part. Regular aerobic exercise not only promotes your cardiovascular health, but also helps you improve cognition and reduce stress, and in some cases actually even reverses the shrinking of your medial temporal lobes and prefrontal cortex. Now, these two areas of your brain are associated specifically with working memory. That's the memory that you use when somebody gives you a phone number and you're saying it to yourself as you dial it in, if you even bother to do that anymore. And episodic memory, that means events or sequences of events that happen in your life day to day or any time. This happened, then this happened. That's an episodic memory. So both of these types of memories are more preserved by those two areas, the prefrontal cortex and the medial temporal lobes. So another thing that's important, because our brain is part of our body, it is a physical thing, nourishing our brains with a Mediterranean diet and eating moderately can have a positive impact on your cognitive abilities. So a Mediterranean diet is mostly made up of plants. So this is fresh vegetables and fruits, healthy foods, legumes, whole grains, all that good stuff that we all know we should be eating anyway, and going easy on the alcohol and the red meat, and instead having more fish or other sources of protein, and then consuming healthy fats in the form of olive oil and some nuts, and nuts basically. Okay, so that kind of covers that. Now, one of the best ways to remember anything that is sort of overt knowledge, or what we'd call declarative knowledge, something you can declare, say out loud, that you need for a test, say, or a certification, or your training at work, or to help train your employees, are flashcards. They are the most effective tool supported by science in gaining and retaining book knowledge, which is that declarative memory or declarative knowledge we're talking about. That is memory that you can access consciously. But did you know that spaced learning with flashcards enhances retention even more? That is, instead of thinking you're going to study just before the test, that's actually a mistake. You would be far better to do a little bit of studying or a little bit of learning every day. And the most effective way to do that is to learn it and make flashcards so that when you go to review it, you're actually testing and reviewing, and more importantly, producing that information rather than just regurgitating it from memory. So the other thing is, again, maybe something people think is just a hippie thing, but it's been repeatedly demonstrated by neuroscience and thousands of years of practice. And that is mindfulness meditation is another effective strategy because it reduces stress, which improves cognitive function. So you don't have to do meditation specifically, but it is one of the easiest. It's free. It's simple to learn and takes a lifetime to master. It is the thing. Now, maybe you want to do Tai Chi or anything else, anything that helps reduce your stress, because chronic stress impairs our cognitive performance. The next one is my very own, and this is understand, don't memorize. If you've simply memorized something that you can regurgitate, that is not understanding. That is memorization, and if you can't apply it, it is useless. It'll help you pass the test, but it is useless if you ever need to use that information in your leadership and in your life. So learn actively by producing questions, answers, and explanations instead of superficially regurgitating or memorizing phrases and definitions, which is kind of what I already said. So another thing you can do, which goes back to the flashcard thing, is to randomize your practice and learning to make it even deeper. This can apply both to physical skills like improving your golf game. Don't just do a whole bunch of putting. Do some putting, or do a few putts and then do some drives and then do some chip shots by rotating them, which is the way you really do them. In other words, practice like you play in any endeavor that will improve your learning, memory, and retention, and also your skill overall, though it will actually probably reduce your short-term performance by doing that randomization because you're not being able to dial it in. But that's not how you learn long-term. You do it by doing it randomly. That also works with the flashcards. So it's like shuffling your flashcards. So lastly is setting specific learning goals and objectives will improve your motivation, give you objective feedback so that you can learn better. By integrating these strategies into your daily life, you can learn smarter and more effectively. So now we're to the bonus points. So thank you for staying with me for this long. And the bonus points are to learn smart. So this is a long acronym. So here's what Learn Smart stands for. Long, restful sleep. That is, sleep until you wake up naturally. Engage in mental challenges. That's about that Goldilocks zone and stretching it to the top of there. Aerobic exercise. Next one is relationships that are close, healthy, and enduring. Believe it or not, our brain performs better and we stay healthy in all aspects by having some close, meaningful relationships. This helps your cognition. Nourish the Mediterranean way. And as you probably have guessed, that's the Mediterranean diet we've already talked about. The next one is spaced learning, meditation or stress reduction, active learning, that's the producing questions, answers, and explanations rather than passive regurgitation, randomize, review, and practice. And the last one is targeted, measurable learning goals. All put together, that is Learn Smart. Now, I know that's a kind of a long one to do, but Learn Smart is the phrase that ties that all together. So next is download my Mastery Habits Guide to master the habits of daily learning, because the habits of mastery and the habits of learning are essentially one and the same. I'll put a link in the description where you can download that. And finally, click, I think it's here, should be here. Click here or click here. I can't remember which side it shows up on. Anyway, click there so that you can consume some more of my episodes. And in this one in particular is my recommended episode called Learning Deeply for more research-backed learning strategies. This has been Crush It Club 305, Neuro-Cognitive Strategies from the Learning Brain book summary. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.